Welcome to a Saturday afternoon edition of Taking It to the Nub. I'm your host, Boston Jimmie, and today we're doing it at 1 o'clock because our guest today is chiming in from the UK. So he's across the pond, so it's a little later for him. So we're going to do this at 7 o'clock because he would be dreary-eyed. So we want to have him awake and ready to have fun with us. Who do we have on? We're going to have Shaun Wilkinson, the chief rebel of Rebellion Cigars. So if you're wondering why the word of the day today was rebellion, with everything else that's been posted, no, it has to do with Rebellion Cigars. And we're going to learn all about Rebellion Cigars. We're going to learn about rock and roll, country music, cigars, and fun. So I just been wanting to do this show for a while. I met them at PCA this year, and you're going to learn a lot about who Shaun is and the history behind this brand. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a short commercial break, and we're going to bring Shaun right in.
Brought to you by Casa Cuevas Cigars. In the 19th century, Juan Cuevas, Spanish immigrant from Santander, began what was to be a family business which now spans 4 generations. Like others fortunate enough to live and work in Pinar del Rio province of Cuba, Juan commenced cultivating tobacco, turning it into a successful business. Years later, in the Ciabo Valley of the Dominican Republic, Luis Cuevas Sr., Juan Jr.'s son, carried on the family tradition of handcrafting fine cigars in the family's cigar factory, Tabacalera Las Lavas. Today, Luis Sr. is joined by his son Luis Jr. in the manufacturing and sale of premium long filler cigars. So check out Casa Cuevas Cigars at www.casacuevascigars.com and on their Instagram and Facebook channels.
Catelli Cigars is back. The past few years brought many questions and changes to the cigar industry. In the wake of all uncertainty, Catelli Cigars decided to take a break and try their hand in the retail side of cigars. With 2 shops under their belt, first Riverside Cigar Bar, and now the Catelli Cigar Lounge in Vero Beach, Florida, they are now more educated in the retail and the wholesale sides of the cigar business. During this time, they received many inquiries about their cigars returning to the market. Making the difficult decision to take a break from their brand was eased knowing that when the time was right, Catelli would be back, and now they are. Catelli is excited to bring their first release, the Catelli Box Air, back to market. The Box Air, a rich box press San Andreas Mexican Maduro with a Nicaraguan binder and filler, come in Box Air's 3 original sizes, Robusto, Toro, and Gordo. You can check out Catelli Cigars at catellicigars.com. And also check out their Facebook and Instagram pages. Chief, how are you? And thank you and welcome to Taking It to the Nub.
Well, I'm great, thank you. And first of all, well, thanks for having me on, and thanks for doing it at a more reasonable time in the UK.
Good. So I hope people are watching.
Sometimes I do these and it's like 12 o'clock, midnight, 1, 2, 3 in the morning. So, and I'm getting a bit old for that now.
Yeah, I hear that, and I've been very flexible, especially now in my retired days. It's like I can do it any day of the week if need be, any time in the day. I mean, I'll stay
Yeah,
up late at night if I have to, or I'll get up early in the morning if I have to, because it's about you, the guests. It's about talking about your brand, what you have, your journey. That's what we like to let people know about. Um, and speaking of that, I'll just mention yesterday I posted out a little picture of me smoking one of your cigars. We'll get into more of them later, but the Ace of Spades, fabulous cigar. Congratulations on this one. I think this is going to be a whopping good review. I think they're all starting to burn as the same, and the tastes are there. Um, when you did your brand, when I met you in PCA in this year, okay, and I was impressed. I wasn't at PCA last year when you officially launched, so I
yeah,
met you this year, and I mean I was just drawn into you first and foremost because of the color motif. Very unique. Pink works. It
yeah.
attracts people in. I'm sure you did that on purpose.
Yes. Well, so I mean, it kind of goes back to the whole reason we did this in the first place. So, gonna try not to bore you, but I've been smoking cigars since I was 19, and I started off my cigar journey because I tried cigarettes, didn't like them at all, but I knew some people who smoked cigars and I love the smell. And I started smoking a cigar called a Costella, which in those days was advertised on the television as the cigar that was as big as a pint pot. And that was big, right. And they were like, I don't know, 20p each. You bought a pack for £1 or something.
Hmm.
And then I used to smoke a few King Edwards and all that sort of stuff. And then somebody went to the Dominican Republic and bought back some Santa Damiana Robustos in a tube. And this was kind of the first time I'd seen a real cigar. And so I smoked one and I thought, well, I'm not really getting a lot of smoke output out of this. I mean, it's all right. I don't really see what the fuss is about. And I was out and about and I went to this local tobacconist and I said, look, I've got these cigars. I said, but I don't really know what I'm doing. Can you help me? He said, certainly. Show me what you're doing. So I showed him. He said, right, the first thing you got to do is you've got to cut the end off. Because if you don't cut the end off, you're not going to get any. I said, and this whole, well, got to buy a cutter. I've got to buy one of these special lighters and all that sort of jizzle, right? So I did all that, and I thought it was just fantastic. So started smoking those. Somebody else went to Cuba and bought me some Cubans back. Started smoking those, but in the UK, bloody expensive. So I could only really afford to smoke one a month. But I had a taste for them. So over the years, I started smoking a few more, started playing golf, started smoking them on the golf course. And I came up with this idea probably about, I don't know, 15, 16, 17 years ago. I thought, right, how can I smoke more cigars for less money? I know I'll set up a cigar business and I can buy them, at least I can buy them for trade price and it'll be cheaper. However, in the UK, there's a little bit of a closed shop. There's a little bit of I don't know if snobbery is the right word, but they don't like newcomers coming in, and so I couldn't do it. I just could not get past this wall of we are who we are, and you're not a part of our club, and you can't come in. So fast forward a few years, I'm smoking more and more cigars. It's getting more and more expensive, and I was in Malta uh, with some mates of mine and but we've had a bit to drink. We're a bit pissed, and we just started talking about this, and and came up with some ideas and stuff. And I came back and thought, I'm going to do this now. I'm going to stuff them. I'm going to find a way of getting through all this bullshit and actually launching a brand. So then you got to think, well, what brand do you go with? So the reason Rebellion was the name of the brand was because I was kind of rebelling against all these people who said I couldn't do it, right? So screw that, I'm going to do it. So that was the first thing. And then having been to America a few times and been in these fantastic cigar lounges and seen how many cigars there were and how cheap they were compared to the UK, I thought, well, how am I going to stand out from all these, well-known brands and that are already out there? And pink's always been my favorite color. Ever since I've been a teenager, I've worn pink shirts, pink ties, you name it, I do pink. So I thought I'll make the brand pink. And again, a little story here. I played golf, and years ago, but there's a famous golfer called Bubba Watson who used to use
Oh
a
yeah.
pink golf driver, right? And again, about 15 years ago, I'm at my golf shop and they had one on the counter. And I said, I've got to have that. I've got to have this pink driver. So I bought it. And it took me about 2 months to pluck up the courage to actually take it on the course and hit it. Because I thought, if I don't hit this right, the boys are just going to rip the piss out of me. Um, so pink's always been my color. And, when you put the box in a humidor now, it stands out. So hopefully what happens is it attracts people to the brand and it piques their interest. And they say, well, okay, that's something different. What's it all about? Right. So then the next thing we kind of looked at was, what else can we do? And I'm a big rock nut. Got into rock music in my probably early 20s. Love Guns N' Roses, love Slash. I mean, what a guitarist he is. And so I thought, well, I'll name them after my favorite rock songs. And that's basically how the Rockstar range came about. And then if we fast forward a little bit, Mandy, my wife, who's my partner in the business, said, well, if you're going to have the Rockstar brand, I want the country range because she's a big country music nut. So that's kind of, exactly, there you go, there's the country range. And that's kind of how the whole thing sort of got its legs, really. And then the Union Jacks came a little bit later because when we first launched, we didn't have the Union Jacks, and we thought, we're proud to be a British brand. Obviously, the cigars aren't made in Britain, but the brand is born and bred here and primarily run from here. So we put the Union Jacks on to make it very apparent that we're a UK business. And again, another little
Rebellion
fun
and
story.
US kind of go together with the UK. So
Yeah,
it's like,
absolutely. Yeah. Well, do you know what? It kind of goes over here in the UK as well now because, that kind of snobbery. I mean, if you look at the cigar market in the UK now as opposed to how it was even maybe 7 or 8 years ago, it's changed dramatically. So Cuban cigars have become they're already expensive, but become really expensive now. And lots of the wholesalers and distributors are bringing in more and more of the new world. If that's
yeah,
what
the
you want to call it.
New world
Yeah,
is big over in
because
Europe
the
now.
consumer wants it. The consumer wants to try all these different cigars. So that's how we sort of came into being. So as you can see, I wear pink. The bags are pink. The all the new stuff that's going in the shop soon is all
I love it.
pink.
I love
Um,
it.
you name it, we're pink.
And like I say, it drew me right into you at PCS. I was walking through the aisles. I was like, "Ooh, this
Yeah,
is interesting."
yeah.
Um, the what I really want to know is how were you able to work with your factory and get that British accent into the cigar?
Well, again, there's a little bit of a story to that. So when we first started,
How's the
I know
joke? But go ahead, you can tell me the
it-
story.
it's the usual thing, right? So nobody would talk to me. Who the hell are you? We deal with all these big boys, and then all of a sudden, uh, right at the start of 2020, we got some
Mhm.
traction with a couple of factories and said, yeah, we can do something for you. So we had a big trip planned to Nicaragua, as it was then, in April 2020, and of course, COVID hit, so everything went out the window. Those factories then stopped responding and we had to look elsewhere. And we eventually found a partner in the Dominican Republic. And they sent loads of cigars over. And I spent the whole of that summer sampling different blends. So I was saying to them, right, okay, you've sent me this one. It's great, but it could just do with a bit more, a bit less, or blah, 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 blah. So I probably smoked about, I don't know, 30 or 40 different cigars. It was a tough summer, but
It was a
somebody
tough
had to do
summer.
it.
Oh yeah.
So we settled on the first cigar we blended, which was the Sweet Child of Mine, and
Okay.
that's the one we couldn't launch in the US because we couldn't obviously get over there. So we had to launch in the UK. We set up a consumer website in the UK to sell not only our cigars but other people's cigars as well, which is still going now, still going strong. And it was a success. So we thought we were onto something here. And but then the relationship with the factory was getting a bit tough. This is where luck plays a bit of a part in this, because I spoke to somebody who knew somebody else, and they said, look, there's this guy called Pedro. Now, if you were at PCA this year, you'd have met Pedro. There's this guy called Pedro. He's quite young, but he's been in cigars his whole life. He's got a little factory over in Honduras, and he's done some stuff for us, and it's really good. So I phoned Pedro. He's obviously a native Spanish speaker, but speaks perfect English. And he flew out to see us in Orlando. And we sat there one afternoon and we smoked, I don't know, 3 or 4 cigars. And I gave him all the cigars we'd already blended. And he told me what was in those cigars, right? So I'm already impressed by his knowledge.
Wow.
And we got on well. He's young, he's enthusiastic, but he's got an old head on him. So we bit the bullet and we moved production to his factory. So we visited Honduras to make sure, actually existed and everything was as it should be, as you do. And, honestly, it's such a great partnership. He really knows his stuff when it comes to blending. He's got great contacts to actually source the tobacco. The factory is run by a man and a woman, and the woman does all the quality control. So the wife of the factory manager, and she's great because you don't want to mess with her. So we make sure that look, there's always duds in anything you do. It's a handmade product, but 999 times out of 100, the scars are going to be constructed well. And then it's down to taste. Then it's completely down to what's your taste profile, and that's why we've got the range we've got, because as my wife will tell me over and over again, it's not all about me, it's about what the customer wants, and you have to produce stuff that for different palates and different taste profiles.
Yeah, absolutely. And you do have quite the lineup. I'd like to go through some to those with you now. I've got your website up, so I want to open up some of the cigars that you have here. I want to start with we'll start with the country range. So I'm going to share this, do this the correct way this time. So the first one I'm going to open here is the 5 o'clock somewhere. Pour yourself
smoke one of those this afternoon. Yeah.
So talk about this cigar a little bit.
Okay, so again, what we've tried to do, so we've tried to make them tasty. So you've got your mild cigar, medium cigar, and stronger cigar, all right? But just because it's medium doesn't mean to say you don't want strong tastes. The idea is it's an everyday smoke cigar, but it's not going to blow your head off if you smoke it with your morning cup of coffee, right? So the 5 o'clock somewhere, obviously it's a Habano binder, a Habano wrapper, but it's got a Connecticut binder on there, okay? And then you got a mixture of 3 tobaccos. All our cigars have 3 tobaccos within them to try and get you a good mix. So you've got Trojes, which is a Honduran tobacco, Copan, which is Honduran tobacco, and Esteli, which is a Nicaraguan tobacco. So it's like the Copan will give you a bit of spicy chocolate and a bit of it's actually a more of a full-bodied tobacco, but we don't put much in there because we don't want a full-bodied cigar. So it's again, I smoked one before we came on this, before I smoked the Ace of Spades, and it's one of my favorite cigars with a cup of coffee in the morning, because you've got that kind of spicy chocolate. It just goes so well.
And all your cigars, as we get into these, all these cigars primarily are the same. You have the same 3 Vitolas for each blend.
Yeah, they're all robust. So again, they're all Robusto, Toro, and Gordo. So The Gordos we launched last year, and again, purely selfish reason. Robusto and Toro are fantastic, but I love smoking these on a golf course. I like a longer smoke, and
Yeah.
these. I live in the UK half the year, and the weather's shit. And if you want to smoke a cigar on a golf course, for me, you need a bigger gauge because it keeps the cigar warm. So when it's freezing cold and you're trying to keep it lit in the wind and the rain and everything else, it's easier to keep these lit than it is a Toro. So that's why we came up with the Gordos. I probably smoke. Uh, if I smoke 10 cigars, 7 of them in a week will be a Gordo.
Right. Okay. All right. So now let's go to, hold on, let me share this again. So we're going to go to the Ring of Fire next in the country line. The taste of love
Yep.
is sweet and love is a burning thing. Let it burn, burn, burn. Ring of Fire. All right. So there you go. Ring of Fire. Talk about the Ring of Fire, man. Johnny Cash.
Well, you see, my favorite cigar was the Ace of Spades, and then
Yeah, I
we
can
bought the Ring of
understand
Fire
why.
out. Yeah, well, and I smoked the Ring of Fire the first time, so I had all the samples. It's when you get the finished product you can really tell. So the first 1,000 cigars came in, and I pulled a couple out, and I was so annoyed because I actually preferred it over the Ace of Spades, and I was like,
Really?
"Oh, that's my wife's blend. I can't ever tell her." And
You just
but
did.
that's that's just one of those things. And again, we've used the Connecticut binder in this rather than the Indonesian binder. And again, you've got two types of Honduran tobacco, so the Trojes, Copan, and the Esteli. So it's actually the same filler as the 5 o'clock somewhere. So if you like the Ring of Fire, but you don't want anything quite as strong, then the 5 o'clock somewhere is going to work for you. Um, and that's just how it is. But I've got to be honest with you. I really want to be honest with you. So, this is where Pedro does such a good job because he'll take my jumbled thoughts about what we want, and he will produce the goods. And he normally sends me 3 or 4 different blends for that particular cigar. And you probably know this, right? But when you go to a cigar factory and they're doing the blending, it's fairly loosely wrapped, and you get a lot of smoke output and a
Yeah.
ton
Yeah.
of flavor. It's great actually. So they won't be particularly well wrapped, but they'll come to me and we'll smoke them, and you can tell almost immediately when you smoke them or which one is head and shoulders above the other ones or something. And and then you might say, well, okay, it's great, but and I'm fast forwarding a bit here. When we reblended the Sweet Child of Mine, we went through about 7 or 8 different blends because we just wanted a bit more of something in there, and that's how we came up with the remastered Sweet Child of Mine. So he's the brains behind this. I just sit here and do stuff like this.
No, you're giving them feedback, and that's and
Yeah,
and you need the you're like the maybe you're like the architect saying this is what I want, and then
yeah.
he's out there and putting it all together and bringing you the result, and you're like, okay, tweak this, tweak that, work on this, give me that. So, oh yeah, typical,
But
very good.
I've also got some good people, particularly in the UK, who I'll send those samples to. I've got a particular guy who's actually a good customer of ours called Tony Duke, and he runs a brilliant smoke shop called Headcase in Portsmouth. And he I don't when I'm smoking a cigar, right? I don't really get all the delicate tastes that are in there. For me, I'm very easy. It's I either like it or I don't, you know. Whereas his palate is way more refined than mine, and he can taste all the individual things. So I quite often send some to him, and he's great because he'll give me some very honest feedback, and he'll tell you, if you ever get the chance to come over and speak to him, he's a great guy. He'll say to me, "I don't like that cigar, Sean." Um, but they've made it into the range because again, it's not all about him, it's not all about me, and the ones he doesn't like still sell well. But he said to me once, he said, "I hope you're not offended by me saying that." I said, "No, not at all," because that's life, right? Not everybody likes everything. So tell me how it is. Mm.
So then you continue with your country range, and the last one on the country range, I like this one. Okay, so I don't know if this describes your wife, but let's just go to, let me share now. We're gonna go to the redneck woman.
Yeah.
This ain't no high class broad. It's a redneck woman through and through. So
So this mixes it up a bit, right? So you've got a Connecticut wrapper, but you got a Habano binder in there. So again, it's probably slightly more mild to medium than mild, but it tastes good because you've got some rich flavors. And this is for me sometimes where you can come unstuck, because mild doesn't mean to say it doesn't taste of anything. Mild should
it's
still be
low
a
nicotine, low in nicotine,
yeah,
but still a
yeah,
good body, a
yeah,
flavor that
exactly.
transitions well. I'm looking
Yeah,
forward to your blend there, because there are many Connecticut's that people complain about, but they've gotten better. People have
yeah.
learned to put flavor into it, because so you don't get that papery note through and through.
Well, you don't want to smoke it and think, well, yeah, bleh.
Right.
You want to have known you've smoked a good cigar. And one of our best-selling cigars in the UK on the site over here is Southern Draw, Rosa Sharon,
Oh wow,
which,
man,
which
yes.
does that, right? So it's a mild cigar, but God, it tastes good. And that's you never try and copy anybody, but you certainly take inspiration from what other people do, and that's kind of an inspiration for us.
Hmm. And before we get into the Rockstar range, let me just make a comment here first. Overall, what I find most interesting, you're one of the probably the second, maybe the third brand owner. I'll put Crown Heads out there first, because they blended their cigars with a blender to come over and say, okay, here's a song that they're thinking about. All the things are related to different songs, right? And here's like a Led Zeppelin song. Make a cigar that tastes like this sounds.
Yeah.
All right. In your mind, did you start thinking like that? So, redneck woman, that's a song. And did you want it to kind of, you want to feel that? And like you said, I think you said on your website that you'll be humming these songs as you smoke this cigar.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, and again, I know we're not talking about this yet, but I defy you to smoke an Ace of Spades and not sing the song in your head.
Ace of
And that's
Spades. The
yeah.
Ace of
And
Spades.
I always say this, it tastes better if you're doing that at the same time, right? So,
Yeah, I got
and
my Hard Rock t-shirt on. I got
yeah.
this going.
And the thing is, you want people to remember the cigar, because if they enjoy the cigar and remember it, they'll come back and buy another one. So what best way of remembering it than singing the song in your head? You've got a hook forever. You know the cigar because you've got the song in your head. And if you know the song, which people of our age do,
Yeah,
you're in.
normally. But if they don't, you're introducing some younger cigar smokers to some classic music that we've all
Yeah.
loved and enjoyed over the years.
I
All
get
right.
messages on all the social media stuff all the time with people sending me, photos or videos of them smoking the cigar with the music playing in the background, so they get it, and that's the key.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm going to take, we're going to do another commercial break right here. And when we come back, we're going to dig into the Rockstar range.
Okay.
Okay. Because that's my jam. All right. And we're going to have some fun with that.
And today's show is brought to you by Bocock Brothers Cigars, a new and active brand founded by two Honduran brothers, Bryant and Douglas Bocock. The brand zeroes in on those folks that are looking for easy to smoke cigars inspired by unusual circumstances. Very importantly named after their very interesting and imitable last name, Bocock. Right now, Bocock Brothers is featuring their signature edition, made at the AJ Fernandez factory in Esteli, Nicaragua. Features an Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper, a Nicaraguan Habano binder, and a Nicaraguan filler. Available in 3 popular formats, a Robusto, a Toro, and a Gordo. You can check out Bocock Brothers Cigars at www.bocockbrothers.com. And today's show is brought to you by Platinum Nova Cigars. Platinum Nova is a family-owned and operated premium cigar company. Only the highest vintage tobacco and the most skilled hand workmanship go into the making of each Platinum Nova cigar. This results in a timeless blend of art and craftsmanship. The Nova brand and the family's work are a tribute and an honor to their grandfather to always remember him and his infinite passion for the finest cigars. Their love for cigars started with their grandfather, a dedicated master blender and entrepreneur in the cigar industry. So the next time you're looking for that exquisite cigar experience, pick up a Platinum Nova. You could check them out at Platinum Nova Cigars, www.novacigar.com, and on their Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter channels. And today's show is brought to you by All Saints Cigars, a company founded in 2019 and headed up by industry veteran Mickey Pegg and his 2 friends, Martin Corboy, a successful restaurateur, and Frank Leo, an Air Force Academy graduate military veteran. As Mickey explains it, they were all sitting down, talking and smoking cigars, and finally they decided that they would do this thing together. It was time. Mickey said, I decided if I'm going to work hard at it, it should be something I love. Besides, a tough day with a cigar is better than a great day doing anything else. Soon after, they began the process of launching All Saints Cigars, jokingly referring to themselves as the Holy Trinity, St. Michael, St. Martin, and St. Francis. They chose for their logo the cross of St. James, the patron saint of Nicaragua, the country where their cigars would be produced. You can check out All Saints Cigars at www.allsaintscigars.com.
I want to thank all my sponsors, for without them, the show's always a little harder to do. Thank you, Chief Rebel, for you are our newest sponsor on the Stogie Press website. I much appreciate that. It just keeps the money rolling through the industry. That's all I know. So thank you very much for that. So, and
You're
folks,
welcome.
if you are, while we're talking about that, if you are looking for where you can find information about Rebellion Cigars, you can go to, and I'll put it up here, www.rebellionscigars.com. I believe there's also a USA one in here too, right? That somehow I remember seeing that. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think there's a
If you
there's
click on
another
if you
one
click
that,
on the buy if you click on the buy now thing,
if you click on a buy now,
yeah,
you can go here and whatever it's doing, it's thinking. And okay, so there it goes. So it goes
and
rebellionusa.com, which will
that's
bring
where you
you
can
to
buy.
the shop.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
excellent.
if you use the code welcome, you get 50% off your first order. There you go.
50%.
Yeah,
50?
50 off your first order because
Welcome.
we want you to try them.
Didn't know that. I'll make sure I let people know that when I push out reviews. Okay, so now let's come back here for a second and I'll tee this other stuff up. So now we're gonna move into the rock star range. And
Yeah.
I am just an old school, used to be long-haired, hippie, crazy, seen it all. I just saw the Rolling Stones play for the fifth time here in
Wow.
Orlando. To see 80-year-old men running around a stage like they do is just beyond belief. And then you just saw the news yesterday that Aerosmith has decided to bow out and retire. So thank you, Aerosmith. I saw them play amazingly. in my youth, and I guess you just can't handle it anymore. The Rolling Stones still at the top of the heap, man. They're gonna just rock on.
I'll tell you what, when Keith Richards departs this planet, which we hope is a long time, they need to give his body to medical science. He needs to find out what's in there for him to still be going.
Keith Richards, in his own words, is doomed to live.
Yeah.
All right.
What a man.
The guy just he's not gonna die. All right. He's
No.
just going on forever. It is of interest. Eventually everybody's going to, but between the two of these, how do they go? And does one go right after the other? Because I mean, Charlie's gone, so
Yeah.
they're still kicking it and having fun,
Yeah.
but without either Keith or Mick, is there really Rolling Stones anymore?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah.
So we're gonna go now into the next line of cigars, which is going to be the Rockstar range. So let me tee this one up to start with. Okay, so the Rockstar range, first one out of in the back up here is going to be You Shook Me All Night Long. Medium body smoke, certainly recharge your
Yeah.
batteries, blast out some classic rock, and get out your air guitar and know what you want to. Okay, so air guitar. I once had an idea of putting together a full air guitar band. Not just
Yes.
guitar, drums, bass, just have a whole air band.
An air band. Absolutely.
Just including like lip syncing and everything. Just no guitars, not just air.
Bring it
So,
on. I'm in.
But I do play the bass guitar. I don't play it well. I played it since 1978. I think I could do the first lick of Smoke in the Water if I'm lucky. But I have
Okay.
fun with it. I'm not
Well,
any good at being on stage, but I have fun with it. Do you
Well, my
play
dad
the
is no, my dad is a bass guitarist. So he's 97, my dad, and so he started playing the bass guitar. So it's a big double bass when he was in the army in 1945. And do you know, it wasn't until about 10, 15 years ago he told me this story. He said because we were from a place called Warrington, which is in the northern part of England, halfway between Liverpool and Manchester. And he said, and we were talking about it, he said, they used to play about 28 nights out of 30, because in those days you played every night, there were dances and all that sort of stuff, right? And he said, oh yeah, he said the Beatles used to be our warm-up band. I'm like, what?
So what was the name of his band?
Team. Liverpool, Manchester, that was where they all played, So yeah. So he can turn his hand to most instruments. I have a guitar. I have a Gibson guitar, just like Slash from Guns N' Roses. I have a Marshall amp, just like Slash from Guns N' Roses. But there the similarity ends. I wish I could play anything. I can just about get Sweet Child of Mine, the intro, going if the hands are really warmed up. But I just love making a noise, so I just turn up the overdrive and just kick it. Who cares if it doesn't sound good? I just kick it.
I didn't receive that great gene, like you said. My son has it. He's an amazing guitarist besides being a scientist. And my brother was like a killer. He still is a killer guitarist. And he was back in the day, man. He was in Long Island, New York, and he was actually on Billboard of clubs. He was never top billing usually, but they were like on there as one of the warm-up bands. So he had the name going. But they like all good rock and roll bands, you're either noticed or you're not noticed, and sometimes the band just decides to split, and that's what they did. Anyway, let's
Mandy, just before you go on to that, Mandy's a singer. So when I first met Mandy, she used to sing in bands all the time, and then like kids came along, right? So she's getting back into it now. But she's a good singer. She can She can hold a tune. I can't. Sorry, carry on.
You and I would have a lot of fun trying to do karaoke.
Oh
Our
yeah.
wives would be dragging us out of. Can you dance at least? Because I can't
Oh, of
dance either.
course. I can dad dance. I
All
mean,
right.
that's all you
Okay.
need.
Dad dance. Uh, all right. Let's talk about You Shook Me All Night Long. Describe this blend and what do you think about it?
So again, so this is your medium cigar in the range. So this is your Habano wrapper, but this has got the what I would call the more traditional Indonesian binder in there. Okay, so this is two types of Nicaraguan tobacco. So you've got Condiga and Jalapa in there, um, and you've got the Hamastran, which is the Honduran tobacco in there, and it just gives you a little bit of almond, a little bit of sweet chocolate. It's what it's what I would call for me uh, a nice early morning smoke with a good cup of coffee.
Now, you just piqued my interest when you said almond,
Yeah,
because that is one of the notes that I get in a cigar once in a while, and it grabs my attention immediately. Now, is it an almond or is it close to an almondine liqueur? Is there a sweet almond note to it, or
yeah,
is
you've
it
got
more?
it's a little bit of sweetness in there,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Yeah.
think yeah that comes from the Jalapa tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's kind of got a bit of creaminess and a bit of sweetness in there. Again, I can't taste the almond, so you will if your palate's that refined. But the guys that do a lot of reviews for us and stuff tell me there's a definite almond in there, particularly in the second third. So yeah,
All
I'll
right.
be interested to
Yeah.
see if you get that.
I will. I'll let you know, and we will get to that hopefully within the next week or two. The next one, let's go to this because you've been talking about this for a while, is the Sweet Child of Mine.
Yeah.
All right. Mm. This one here, you say our first edition of the Rebellion Rockstar Cigar Range. This is the first one you came out with. You said earlier that you did some reblending of this.
Yeah.
Um, it's taken you a lot of time and love to bring this one to fruition. Medium body, creamy chocolate flavors, hints of spice and cedar. Um, Kind of just a good everyday cigar, the way you describe it. How would you describe it further?
Yeah, well, like that. So when we first blended it, you know, I love chocolate. Who doesn't? So
Mm.
I basically said to the guys, I want some chocolatey notes to come through, some certainly some cocoa, a bit of sweetness in there. And they did a great job. And in fact, I've still got half a dozen boxes of the original stuff, which I'll go back to every now and again just to see what they're like.
Did
And
they age? Have they aged nice, the old ones?
yeah, yeah, it's like all cigar. The longer you leave them, the better they get, I think. My problem is I can't leave them very long, so I am like a kid in the, I'm looking at my humidor now, thinking, well, what's next? Um, and again, whenever I get cigars sent in, particularly the samples when we're blending, really we should lay those down for a month just to let them settle and whatever.
Mm.
I can almost guarantee that as soon as they arrive through the door, I'm ripping the wrapper off and smoking the first one. And if it works then I know in 2 or 3 weeks' time it should work again. So I
I
can't
mean,
wait.
when these came in yesterday,
Yeah.
probably around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and after dinner last night, I grabbed one of these right out of the pack, and I like the fact they put the Boveda packs in it too,
Yeah.
and went out on my patio and smoked this after dinner around 7 o'clock. So basically, right off the truck, boiling heat outside. The cigars, when they came in, you could feel the packs were kind of hot, right?
Yeah.
And I was impressed right
Good.
off. So, like I say, I do the same thing. Somebody sends me, more than one, I'm going to smoke one right away because if I have any incline of something good coming out of that, I know it's going to be better. And once it settles, you're absolutely correct.
So uh, like
All right, so we just got a little glitch here in the feed. I don't know if it's on your side or on my side, but
okay, yeah.
there you
So
go.
I am the original Sweet Child was probably mediums, probably a 6 out of 10, and I wanted it just down a little bit. We reblended it, um, added a little bit, and again, this is one of those where it is a secret, but we messed about with it for ages just to give it. I wanted a little bit more of a kick. And we used the Mexican Andres wrapper, which is a lovely, smooth smoking wrapper on it. And again, you know, if you people ask me this, what's my favorite cigars in the range? I always go to Ring of Fire. Those are my three because I like Maduro cigars, right? So that's what I'm always going to smoke. And Sweet Child of Mine has a little place in my heart because it's kind of the first one we did. But I still think the Mexican San Andres wrapper just has a little bit more smoothness to it. It's got a nice kick, but it's not going to.
I got to do this through my phone now. So let us continue with Shaun. So Shaun, we were talking about the Ace of Spades we were getting into. So
Yeah,
talk about the Ace
yeah.
of Spades.
So the Ace of Spades, you've got again, it's this a Maduro binder and an Indonesian wrapper, and the three tobaccos, Candiga, Hamastran, and Jalapa. Now, all fairly strong tobaccos, and again, the Jalapa adds a slightly sweet, creamy taste to it. This is this is a go-to any time of the day, and you know, although it's more stronger than me, a 7 or 8 out of 10. It's not. I don't think it knocks your head off. I just think it's a very, very enjoyable smoke. You'll be drinking something quite powerful. So I've got a nice dark ale with mine at the moment. Just goes so well.
All right.
Great with Guinness. Goes great with Guinness because Guinness again is nice and creamy and a good creamy stout. Goes great with Guinness.
You know, Guinness for me goes with any cigar I smoke.
Yeah.
Because of what you just said, that creaminess.
Yeah.
That you know, there's that roasted hops, that extra roasted hops that are in it. I mean, I remember being at the Guinness factory and they explained to me that this is technically an IPA with the amount of hops that are in it, but the way they roast and they mix makes it different. It gives you that cream and all of that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's perfect with a cigar.
That's a nice.
The next one,
the Guinness factory.
let's go to the next one. So the next one, let's talk about You Shook Me All Night Long.
Okay, so again, it's the Habano wrapper with the Indonesian binder. Tobacco in it as the Ace of Spades, right? Different, and you've got the Habano wrapper. So you're gonna, again, this is the one we were talking about before. So you've got the sweet chocolatey finish. So and again, it's a good all day smoke. It's a great smoke with a nice dark cup of coffee in the morning. You get the bitterness of the cigar.
And this is giving me a headache too. Okay. I'm hoping that all came through because on my end it was kind of going back and forth, but it could very well be fine. We'll see what this looks like when I'm done. And then the last one is Paradise City. Another great rock and roll song. Absolutely gets my juices flowing. Talk about Paradise City. It's obviously it looks like is that a Connecticut or a Habano?
It's a Connecticut, right? So you've got again the same tobacco as the You Shook Me and the Ace of Spades, and this is where, you know, if you go through the range and start with the Paradise City and the You Shook Me and the Ace of Spades, get great taste right at the bottom. So again, as we were saying earlier, when you've got a Connecticut wrapper, sometimes they can be a little bit there. You don't get anything. I think you're getting great taste out of it. But again, it's a nice mild cigar. You know, depending on your taste profile, it's a morning cigar. We sell tons of those. People smoke them all times of the day. But again, you're just getting some great taste coming through. Because you don't want to knock your head off. You don't want to knock your head off with a Connecticut. I mean, you know, Connecticut's traditionally are meant to be a mild cigar, but as we said earlier, I firmly believe that you've got to add some really good taste in there. So it's not going to give you a headache, it's not going to give you a head spin, but you're going to get some good taste.
Okay. So that's the lineup of Rockstar and Country. So my question is, with this now, are you going to continue to add to country and rock, or are you going to start looking at other genres of music? Like, do we get into rap? Do we get into jazz? Do we get into blues? Or I guess that could be rock, but
so this is what we call our core line now, right? So and this is fairly settled because we've had these for a few years now. So the next thing we're trying to do is we're coming up with the badass range. Now, we originally called it the serial killer range, but we had a bit of pushback on that from a few people. So we rebranded it as the badass range of cigars. The first one of those is the Demon Barber, which starts shipping to stores in September, and we're trying to bring those out ready for Halloween. So it's kind of a celebration of Halloween. So every year we're going to bring something out that we can launch and ship in September, ready for people to buy and then smoke around about Halloween. And we've also got some collaboration cigars coming through now. So again, it's as quickly as I can, but I did a launch to our retailer in Estonia, of all places. Okay. He's got it's right up our street. It's a proper spit and sawdust cigar lounge. It's great, right? No frills. It's just rockers going there to smoke a cigar. And while I was there, I met this guy, and he smoked. So we were doing a tasting session. He smoked two of the cigars. The first one, he said, "Yeah, it's not really my." I think it was the Ring of Fire or the Ace of Spades. I can't remember. And he said, "Well, this is right up my street, right?" And he started reading off all these names of these famous people that he knew, right? And I was a bit, do you really know them? Then he starts showing me some text messages, and one of those famous people actually buys cigars for me, and I didn't know. Anyway, so again, long story short, I'm in contact with him. We're producing a cigar specifically for him, which we hope to have ready for PCA next year to go out. So that's kind of a new angle for us. We've got 2 or 3 of those in process now. We've just obviously got the sample cigars going out. Then you just make sure they're happy with them, and then we'll get those in production ready for PCA. Get those on the shelf. And again, because of that gentleman who came to that tasting, he said to me, "I do something with these guys who are making a film." Film. So again, our cigars are now in a film, a Hollywood film.
Oh wow!
Which again, I can't talk about what it is yet because it's under embargo, but they should be coming out around about early part of next year. So it'd be great if the film came out before PCA, because then we can shout about it. So yeah, so it's all about getting out there and talking to people, and when people say things, you take them at their word and you follow it, and you don't know where you're going to end up. So yeah, that it's honestly, it's going brilliantly. I couldn't ask for anything more, to be honest.
So you have been growing very well, it sounds like. Now in the UK, okay, so compare UK to the US market. Where you
So
selling
we
most of them?
so right now it's about level, but obviously the US market is in terms of population 6 or 7 times bigger, but in terms of cigar smokers, probably 20 times, 30 times bigger. So it was always about cracking the US market, and it's difficult. You gotta do the hard yards, you gotta be out there, you gotta be doing stuff like this, you gotta be at the stores. We've got some great people working with us now, and I do just want to give a bit of a shout out to Anne and Kevin Dinkins at City of Palms Distribution, who got those cigars to you in record time, in good condition, because that really counts. It's all about customer service.
Yes.
And we're strapping on probably 4 or 5 new retailers every month now.
Hmm.
So we've got some great brokers working with us who are introducing the brand to the bricks and mortar retailers, and they're taking it on board, and they're putting the pink on the shelf, and again, doing all those hard yards you got to do. Because if anybody thinks you can just have a website and people are going to buy your cigars, they're wrong. You've got to be out there constantly, consistently marketing this, getting in front of people, telling your story, getting them to smoke them, and hopefully if they smoke them, they like them, and they'll come back and buy some more. And that's what we're busy doing now.
That's right. And the thing about your cigars, you started with having boxes. You pulled back the boxes, I understand, and went to
Yeah.
bundles, but you do these beautiful display boxes for the shop so you can maximize your presence in the least amount of real estate.
Yes. So again, when we were bringing cigars into the UK, we were bringing them in boxes, and wholesalers in the UK, and we get the boxes, we put them in our humidor here, and we chuck the box in the bin because we're selling on the internet, right? And I'm just thinking, what a waste of money. So if we take that out of the equation, then we can put that money into the tobacco. And what we're after really is, so we are literally right now just getting this new box made now,
Beautiful.
available for retailers um, in about 2 or 3 months' time. So it's got dividers that can move, so you can put 5 different or 6 different types of cigar in there for the space of maybe two regular boxes of cigars. So from a retailer point of view, for a very small amount of shelf space, they can get a lot of new cigars on the shelf. And of course, it's pink and it's going to attract people. And that's, again, what it's about.
Okay. So growing brand. Are you in Texas?
Yeah, so we've got a couple of retailers in Texas, so a broker working there now. So again, we're recruiting more and more as we go.
You Are you in the underground cigar shop in Fort
No,
Worth? Have them
no.
contact them. Okay.
Yeah.
The underground is probably one of the best small brand boutique shops in this country.
Okay.
And they fit the rebel cause without a
Yeah.
doubt. They're
Yeah.
good people. Don Wiggins, the owner, is an amazing person. And I just love that lounge when I visit that area. So you might want to have them check that out.
Yeah, and that's what we're after. We're after lounges who get what we're trying to do,
Mm-hmm.
because you have to get the whole rock and country thing. It's nobody else is doing it. This is what we do. If you get that, it works. It can't just be something, oh, we'll stick it on the shelf,
Nashville.
stick it in the corner. It doesn't work.
So you got to get into Nashville. You in Nashville at all?
Yeah, yeah. No, but again, we were meant to go to Nashville as part of our launch, and then COVID. So when
Mm.
we come over in January, that's on our list to go and see a bunch of shops in Nashville. Because again, I think the country range will go down a storm there, I think.
Oh, it's country and rock. I mean, you go into any Nashville bar, and by the way, that Ring of Fire would sell like crazy because any place in Nashville, like if you go to any bar in Nashville, any live band, they've got to play at least one Johnny Cash song, or they're not even allowed
Yeah.
to play. I think just how it is.
Yeah. So yeah, the message is it's growing surely but steadily, and we've just got to keep pushing. We've got a much bigger presence at PCA next year, a much bigger booth. So yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's gonna have that TV up, hopefully playing.
We
that
are
movie.
going to have we're going to have a couple. Yeah, we're just kind of finalizing that, but we're going to have a couple of TVs up with some good content. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Right. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to hanging out in New Orleans one
Yeah,
more
new
time.
place. Yeah, never been there, so I'm looking forward to going to New Orleans as well.
Gears a little. Let's shift gears a little. So I have to give a shout out to the UK. All right, because I was watching the Olympics last night. I was watching the men's 1500 meter.
Yeah.
And your guy Kerr, he makes running look easy.
Yeah.
That guy is a beast.
Yeah, well, we've got good history in middle distance running. So that all started back with Seb Coe and Steve Ovett and then Steve Cram. So it's like if you do well at something, more people want to do it and get involved, and it breeds good athletes. If I go back 30, 40 years, we were lucky to get 2 or 3 gold medals. We're now 4th in the medal table, so we're not doing too bad for a little country. Yeah, we're doing all right. Yeah.
No, the UK doing quite well. Australia's doing very well. Australia's doing well in swimming, man. That's amazing.
Yeah. And what about now? Who's the American gymnast? Is it Simone?
Oh, Simone Biles, man.
How good is she? Huh?
Good. She's the goat. She's the goat. You see the height that girl get? 11 feet plus.
I know.
I mean, who does that?
She's only 4'10" or something. So I mean, that makes it even better. She's so good.
Incredible to watch her do that, and the skateboarding. I love to watch the skateboarding competition. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, it's like watching that stuff and seeing all the things I can't do. That's good.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm looking forward. I do Taekwondo.
Okay.
So I'm waiting. August 7th to the 10th is Taekwondo competitions, and I've told the young students in the class, I said, look, tune into that, and you will see the best of the best doing your sport. So if you're any kind of an athlete, whether you're just starting in the sport, you're midway through, you're a master, just to watch an Olympic competition in that will give you more incentive to continue to do your sport. And I want to find out all the things I'm doing wrong.
I know, but this is the thing with all the shit that's going on in the world. This sort of thing is just great. It's people enjoying themselves and performing at the top of and that doesn't come easy. I mean, I love watching these documentaries where they go behind the scenes about the training and everything these people go through day after day, and their dedication to it is just brilliant. I love it.
And it carries over because even Simone Biles, she owns a gym in Texas.
Right.
All right. She has a very large gym, I understand, with a lot of young students. So when if you're an Olympic biggest gold medal athlete you got in the sport coming in there, owns the gym, and you're in that town, and your kid wants to do gymnastics, guess where you're going?
Absolutely. Yeah. The thing is, it's great because you got to get kids into this sort of stuff, because otherwise they're just playing computer games and doing we never had that when we were kids, so we got out and did things, and I think it's brilliant. I think it's brilliant to have these role models and them to get out and want to aspire to do what these top athletes do. I think it's just fantastic.
So are you into being from the UK? Are you big into cricket?
Well, yeah, a little bit. So, again, I love the fact they've changed the format now to all these kind of like, uh, it only lasts a day. Because again, when I was growing up, we used to play this thing called Test match cricket, and I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I've wasted a whole 5 days watching Test match cricket, and it's ended in a draw. And it's like, how can something go on for 5 days and end in a draw? So yeah, the 2010s and the 100 and whatever they call it is great because again, you're getting kids. Kids haven't got the attention span for 5 day matches,
No.
but they've got the attention span to get out there and smack a ball around. And again, I just think it's great. It's getting kids involved in sport again. I'm a big rugby fan, so I used to
I
play
was going to go
rugby.
there next. Yeah.
Yeah, rugby. What a game rugby is. I mean, the hits those guys take is yeah.
Yeah, I
Something
got
else.
into rugby, believe it or not, when I was living in Japan.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, because the screens in the bars, one of the sports they always show is rugby, and the Japanese have
Yeah.
rugby teams, and I
Yeah.
started watching rugby, and I got into it. I was like, this is better than American football, okay? Because these guys like they ain't got a lot of
Yeah. Well,
game to watch.
so obviously one of the best teams in the world is the New Zealand All Blacks. And so
Mhm.
the English rugby team just went down to New Zealand. And so away from home in New Zealand, it's tough, but we nearly beat them twice. It was knife edge stuff, and the games were just brilliant. They're you know physical games, loads of skill, and again, get kids involved. And I just think it's a great game. Any game is great. Any sport is great. But
any
rugby,
sport, any sport, get them involved.
yeah,
Builds up their physique, builds up their mental capacity. It's not just physical; it's mental.
yeah,
Any sport is got mental aspects to it. And you've got there's going to be injuries. I know, like there are people that'll say like football, full contact football when kids are young here in America, kids get injured. Yeah, they do. But you're pushing, and you're trying your best, and yeah, there's going to be injuries. Even Taekwondo, like I do, I've broken ribs, broken toes, broken my hands. Uh, I mean, I have more broken bones from Taekwondo than I've got any other thing I've done. So, but you got
but
to power through it.
you got to get out there. I mean, rugby now they're making it. I think it's non-contact up to about the age of 12, but that's good because it teaches the kids to pass the ball quickly. Because if somebody tags you, you lose the ball. So it creates speed and skill. So then when they get to the tackling stage, when their bodies are a little bit more can stand up to it, they can get stuck into the tackling, but they've got the skill and the speed, and I think that's going to really make the game exciting going forward. So I love rugby. I mean, we have they call it the Six Nations Championship. It starts normally at the beginning of about Feb every year. So it's England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, France, and Italy. And I tell you what, I look forward to that. It gets me through the winter. I look forward to that so much, and they're just great games. It's a great spectacle.
Did you play any sports when you were a kid?
Yeah, well, I played a bit of rugby, but I kept getting injured, so I kind of knocked that on the head a bit. I used to play a lot of tennis, badminton, squash, basketball. Uh, Mixed hockey is the most violent game I've ever played. Because when you so you're playing against women and you're trying to be a bit of a gentleman and they just go full pelt at you and it's just
Oh,
they beat the living crap out of you. So you need to but, and I've done karate. I've done just before COVID. I trained in Krav Maga for 3 years, um,
what
which
is
is an
that?
Israeli self-defense thing.
Oh, that's the
Uh,
Israeli one. Okay.
yeah, yeah, and that's good. That's proper combat.
Mm-hmm.
I'll turn my hand to anything.
Very good. Um, so go back to music for a second. Okay. Obviously, you love music. Um, Based on what you said, can I infer that your favorite band was Guns N' Roses, or are we gonna have something else? What is your what are your top three rock and roll bands of all time?
Well,
And
so
I'll give you mine.
Guns N' Roses is up there, and then I love Queen. I think they were just brilliant and of their time. But you know, Freddie Mercury was the ultimate showman. Brian May could play the guitar like anybody.
Yep.
Then after that is just loads. I mean, I like the Kinks. I like anything with a good guitarist, and the more overdriven, the better. So bit of 80s rock, you know, Bon Jovi's good. Went to see them in the UK years ago. What a great night that was. I love the Eagles. We've been to see the Eagles a few times. And again,
Good show they
those
put on.
they are so good and so tight, and it's like listening to the record. Yeah, so you go see a lot of bands sometimes, and they deviate from what they've laid down on the track. But those Eagles boys, their harmonies are spot on, the guitar playing spot on, and it's just great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yep,
what's your
I totally
favorite?
agree. My top three in order would be number one is Led Zeppelin.
Okay, yeah.
Number two would be the Rolling Stones. And number three, the Ramones.
Oh, really?
And let me pause on the Ramones for a second. So when I think about your cigar line, we've got rock, we got country. You need punk.
Yeah.
Sex Pistols,
Yes.
Ramone.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you should say that. I can't say too much, but actually, yeah, there is a bit of yeah, there might be some punk coming through for PCA. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see which ones you pick because I mean, Social Distortion, just so many cool bands that I saw when I was young, right? I used to hang out at CBGB's. Okay, that gives you any inclination of where my head was at back in the 70s. And that was just so much fun to go into these venues, just super loud,
Yeah.
dingy places. All right, but to watch, I saw the Sex Pistols play there once,
Did you?
and it was the weirdest time I've ever seen because I was not in the front row. I was kind of in the back watching and having a few drinks, and the people in the front, the real serious Sex Pistols fans, were like asking, Sid Vicious to like spit on
I
them.
know. I
It
know.
was like crazy town stuff.
Yeah. But it's funny because I only got into this sort of music in my early 20s. So when I was a teenager, it was all the kind of 80s stuff. So it was your Duran Duran and your Human League and all that sort of stuff. Because that was and Madonna and Michael Jackson, because they were the big bands coming through the 80s. And then I really switched. So I'm just trying to think, 67, 77, probably late 80s, early 90s, I really discovered rock music, and it's like I never looked back since.
Well, considering you
There you
guys,
go.
really gave birth to kind of rock and roll, right? How American picked that up and just ran with it, in
Well,
a
you
big
say
way.
that, but I just rewatched the film about Elvis and the Colonel, and he was before his time, Elvis. I didn't quite realize
Absolutely
he
was.
got arrested for swiveling his hips, and it's like, well, yeah, it's just great. And you think,
Well, we couldn't handle that here.
no, I know, no,
We couldn't
yeah,
handle that. We couldn't handle that even in the 80s when Prince, I remember
oh,
Prince, they banned him from Boston because
did they?
Boston was a very prudish town.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And they banned him because he would come out with his garter belts on and stuff.
yeah, yeah,
And people just couldn't wrap their heads around that. Meanwhile, this guy's playing the meanest guitar ever. I
yeah,
think he's way
yeah,
up there in the top five guitarists of all times, Prince. He was so incredible on stage.
yeah. And that's what I like about them, right? Because they didn't give us stuff. So they did their thing. And then the kid, kids are kids. Kids like it, kids love it, and they're successful. And
That's it.
it's almost anti-establishment. It's going against all the stiffs and saying, do you know what, stuff for you, we're going to do what we want to do, which I'm all for. Now I'm a bit of an old stiff myself. I get it.
I know I'll take all kinds, all genres of music. There's those I'll listen to all the time. But you give me any genre of music, and hey, they're up there playing. They're up there
Yeah.
doing their thing. Like my son's big into raves and dubstep and things like electronic music. And at first my head couldn't get wrapped, and then he started playing, showing me stuff, and I was like, yeah, okay, I get it now. And people
Well,
are talented. They
yeah, yeah.
deserve fame.
Well, do you know, again, it's interesting. So when I was a kid, there was a show on the TV called Top of the Pops. And so Top of the Pops is all the latest bands coming in. And my dad would stick his head around the door and just shake his head. Because he's a musician. So he was Glenn Miller and jazz, right? So that was his thing. And he'd listen to all this 80s stuff and rock and just think, what a load of rubbish. And then my kids, when they started watching similar shows and they're listening to rap music and God knows what, you start to think the same thing, and you think, no, I'm gonna take a step back. I'm not gonna do that. And then, like Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is not my bag, but hats off to her, right? She's ruling the world right now with what she does. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I listened to I got turned on to Taylor Swift from my granddaughter. Okay. 6 years old. 6 years old. She turned me on to it a few years ago. I never knew who Taylor Swift was. It wasn't even on my
No,
radar screen because I don't listen. I don't listen to terrestrial radio. So I stream what I like. And
yeah,
then she turned me on to it, and I started listening to the lyrics more than the music. And I said, this woman has a load of stories to tell.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. And I love her stories. She writes and sings from her heart. She's an extremely talented individual, and all the rightful. She's taken the world by storm. Hey,
She is.
go for it.
Yeah, but she's working at it. This stuff doesn't come just come. You got to work at it, and she's working at it. So I'm all for it.
And there's always somebody next. That's the
Yeah, yeah,
beauty of it,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
somebody's at the
yeah,
top of the heap, and then all of a sudden somebody's new coming in. I mean, think about she displaced people like Lady Gaga and
yeah.
in that genre. She came in and just that was it. She just became the one. And then, who knows? 5 years from now, somebody else is going to be at the top of the
But
heap.
the good ones don't go away. The good ones come back. So they might go off the radar for a few years, but then they come back. So they go away. They might reinvent themselves a little bit. That's what they're good at. And that's what you people like Queen and all the back, and Led Zeppelin, all those sorts of bands, they were constantly pushing the envelope and coming up with something new. And that's why they stood the test of time.
That's correct.
Mm.
All right. Well, sorry about the glitches we had.
Hey, no problem.
I'll see what all of this looks like when we're done, and hopefully I can piece it all together and have it right when it pushes out. I will have this out on my YouTube channel next weekend. So I'll send you the link to that once it's all cleaned
Yeah.
up. And hey, thank you very much. I'm going to give you the last word.
Well, it's just to say thank you to you. I mean, honestly, I really anybody who does this for me, I really appreciate. Really appreciate your time and your help and your support. I appreciate you doing this a bit earlier. It's been great fun. I'm just looking now. It's been an hour and a half, and it's just flown by. So yeah, thank you for having me on. And when I'm next over in Orlando, we'll definitely get together and smoke a cigar or two.
Absolutely. You can even, if you even want to swing over this way, you can sit right here in my cigar lounge in my
Yeah,
house, and we can
yeah,
burn some, have a drink or two, and just have a great conversation.
we'll do
So,
it. It's a date. Good stuff.
all right.
Cheers,
So
Jimmie.
that's our show, folks, for tonight.